AJ.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you guys for watching. I am going to be making 5 recipes. They're pretty easy recipes, and one of the things I love so much about raw, especially this time of year, is it's not just over 100 where I live, it's like 120. So I live near Palm Springs, and I love things that don't require any heating because it's already hot enough. So I'm going to be making 3 very simple salad dressings that can also double as sauces. I'm going to make my favorite salad. It's a new recipe from my upcoming book. It's called Farm Salad, and I'm going to make a dessert. 4 of the recipes require a blender, so I'm going to have to rinse it out in between because I only have 1 canister, so otherwise I'll be here the whole time. And the first recipe I'm going to make is called Strawberry Fiesta Dressing. It's from my second book, The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss, and I conceived this recipe when I was a guest chef at Rancho La Puerta because it just came to me at that time. And it's very easy. I always try to have my recipes have no more than 7 easy to find ingredients or less, and to be very easy to prepare because let's face it, who has time for complicated recipes? I used to be a culinary instructor at the Braille Institute teaching the blind, and I learned if something is going to be easy for a blind person, it's going to be really easy for a sighted person, and that's just the way I prefer to prepare my food. So I'm going to start with a pound of organic strawberries. I cut the stems off just by habit, but now that I think about it, you really can eat the stems. I've had dinner with Dr. Michael Greger. He eats the stem of the strawberry. He eats the peel of the kiwi, but just out of habit, I cut the stems off, but we have a pound. I'm going to place them in the blender. Now, you might want to taste how sweet they are because if the dressing isn't sweet enough, you could always add a date or so if you like a sweeter dressing. This one I don't intend to be particularly sweet, but if you like things sweet, that's what you would do. It calls for a half of a jalapeno, but again, that is going to be up to you. I use the seeds because I actually like things very spicy. If you don't like things spicy, you want to take the seed and the membrane out. I actually made this dressing last week because I make this often, so I had it perfect a half right there. But you could also use, where'd it go? Something called jalapeno powder. I don't know where I put it, but it's just ground jalapeno, so that's also an option. And it calls for a 1/4 cup of red onion. I was out of red onion, during the pandemic. I try to go to the store only once a week. So I'm using a shallot, and it looks like this is almost perfect, a 1/4 cup. A shallot is a cross between garlic and onion, so it's absolutely fine. And that's one of the things that's so nice about raw food is you don't have to have exact, you can substitute because one whole natural food can substitute for another. If you don't have a red onion, you can use a white or a yellow, and in this case, a shallot, and it will still work. So these are very easy to peel. And, sometimes onions can be very, very strong, but shallots tend to be, at least in my experience, a little bit mild, which is nice. This might be more than a 1/4 cup, but that's okay because it's all good. Whole natural food. I don't worry about it. And then the other ingredient is, gosh, I should really get my recipe, shouldn't I? There must be something else in here. I apologize for not having my own recipe memorized, but that's what's so great about when you have a book, because guess what? You can just look it up in a second. Okay, Strawberry Fiesta, page 233. Seems like something is, I put all my ingredients out. That's one of the things they always teach you at culinary school. It's called the mise en place. Aha, a 1/4 cup of lime juice. I knew something was missing. All right, I will get that in a second. I'll have that in the fridge. I normally would use fresh limes, but again, I couldn't get to the store, so I am using an organic lime juice, which is a backup for emergencies. A 1/4 cup would be 4 tablespoons. When you use fresh, what's nice is if it's organic, you can use the zest, and that's really good because I don't use any salt in my cooking, and when you use something like the zest, which is sour, sour can sometimes make you think you've had something salty when you didn't. And then the chia seeds. The chia seeds are being used as a thickener, and it calls for 1 to 2 tablespoons. And that just depends how thick you like it. I like it a little bit on the thicker side because then it sticks to my lettuce better. So I'm putting 2. 1 is enough. Actually, you could use none if you wanted it watery, but I like it a little bit thick. And I'm using a Vitamix, which is a high-powered blender, but this certainly could be done in any blender. That's it. and it's really yummy. The chia seeds don't thicken immediately, but in the refrigerator, they will start to thicken. And I'm just gonna pour it in a container. And dressing, very, very easy. Gonna rinse my blender and come back with a second recipe. I can still talk to you guys or answer any questions while I'm rinsing, of course. Oh, by the way, if I tasted that and it wasn't sweet enough, if I wanted it sweeter, I would just put like 1 date in. And you could also use other fruits. This works very well with raspberries as well as strawberries. And it's kind of savory, it's kind of sweet, and that's that. Okay, so dressing number 1. Dressing number 2 is one of my favorite dressings. This is a lemon poppy seed dressing. I call it lemonade dressing because it kind of tastes like lemonade, and it's actually versatile because you can use it not just as a dressing. I'm going to show you a little trick that I'm going to do. I like to always pre-measure my ingredients just because it's easier to do that. And normally I make a quadruple recipe, but I make this all the time, so I have plenty in the fridge. So I'm making a single recipe right now, and it's equal amounts of lemon juice and water. So I have a half a cup of each in here. And then I have my dates, 2 ounces of dates, which is about 4 medjool dates. Less if you want it less sweet, more if you want it sweeter. And I put the dates in advance just so that they would get softer, because even though these were medjool, they were a little hard. And even though I have a high-powered blender, not everybody does. So soaking the dates is a good idea to make it easier for your blender. Just put it in the blender. And then I am going to add my poppy seeds. These are organic poppy seeds. These are very easy to find. I got these at the regular grocery store. It's called Winco. So I would imagine if it's at the regular grocery store, it would be at your Whole Foods or other type of stores. I've never seen them at Trader Joe's. 1 tablespoon of poppy seeds. And then again, it's such a wonderful natural thickener, chia seeds. 1 teaspoon. And that's it. Again, this will also thicken after it starts to be refrigerated. I'm just going to blend. There's just really, in my opinion, no reason to ever buy store-bought dressings when it's so inexpensive and easy to make your own. So I like to recycle, and whenever I buy, say, like a vinegar, like a rice vinegar or any kind of vinegar, it always comes in a glass bottle. So instead of putting it in the recycle bin, I put it in the dishwasher, and then the label comes off. And then when I make my homemade dressings, take a little funnel, and I can just put it in. Now, if you like a less sweet flavor, you could get a dried mustard powder and maybe put a teaspoon in, and that would be really delicious. Again, I usually make more than this. I'm making single batches because I already have this. And now I'll show you something really fun you can do with this. It's not only a salad dressing, but you can get these popsicle molds and you can make popsicles simply by filling this. Now, when a dressing is sweet like this, and the next one, I like to pair it with something not sweet, like bitter greens, like arugula, because I don't like sweet with sweet. So I like to have, if I'm having some sweet, I like to have some things in the meal that aren't sweet. So just making some popsicles here because it's really fun, especially because it's so hot. Let's see how many this makes. Looks like it's going to make perfect 3 popsicles. I'll show you how to finish it because with the next dressing, I'm going to do the same, only because I have so much salad dressing right now. I don't know if you can see that. We're going to show you how to finish that with the sticks. But this is just a fun idea, especially if I don't have much room.
How much water did you have in that dressing?
Equal amount. So it was half a cup of water and half a cup of lemon juice. I'm going to rinse the blender and do the 3rd salad dressing. And then I'm going to show you how to make the salad, which is very easy, but will take a little bit longer than these blended dressings. You know, it's fun to, one of the things they taught us at Living Light is you know, you want some, it's when flavor balancing. So you have a little bit of sour, so then you want a little bit of sweet, and if possible, a little bit of salt. Well, they use salt. I don't use salt, but like I said, the citrus can also often double as salt. The longer you don't eat salt, the less you miss it or need it. That's for sure. You can always put things like celery in to get things to taste salty. Now this one is also a sweeter dressing, but it also can double as a sauce for if you make any kind of banana ice cream, it's delicious on a fruit salad. And this is called mango orange sauce because it's got mango and orange in it. And I'm just using frozen organic mango because that's what they had. And this is 8 ounces. And if you want to know what 8 ounces is, I'll measure it for you right now because, you know, I was a restaurant chef for many years and we didn't do things in cups. We weighed everything. And so that's why I do that. People get upset when I write my books, but it's so much more accurate when you do it that way. So let's see, 8 ounces is, look at that. It's about 1.25 cups. But again, with this kind of food preparation, I don't worry if it's a cup or if it's 2 cups because it's not rocket science and it's not like baking. Now, if you were to bake, of course, you have to have things measured. But for this, I don't worry. And then I've already measured out 1/2 cup of orange juice and 1/8 cup of lime juice. 1/8 cup would be 2 tablespoons. Again, you could use pineapple juice too. I had some pineapple juice and I thought, boy, that would be good. That would be a lot sweeter. And then 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Got some organic cinnamon here. Put that in and blend on the top. This is especially good on a salad with things like beets and carrots and cabbage. I'm going to, though.
And then do you want to take this?
Are you able to repeat how much cinnamon, please?
Yeah, I did 1/2 teaspoon. But again, if you don't like cinnamon, you don't have to put it in at all. And if you love it, you can put in more. You could put in ginger too. So I'm going to make popsicles out of this instead of using it as salad dressing because I have so much more room in my freezer than in my refrigerator. But this is just a fun idea that you can have salad dressing and a popsicle in the same recipe. And let's see how many this made. This made about 3 as well with 1 batch. I just got this. That's probably why I'm so excited about it. So after you put the stuff in it, it's very easy. You just put the top on it. And it comes with little sticks. And you stick the sticks in. I'm going to show you what these look like when they're done because I actually made some to test it. Could probably, if you didn't have a popsicle mold like this, you could probably just find something else you could use. But these make, if you have kids, kids love these because these look like popsicles and they taste like popsicles, but they don't have any of the junk in them, no sugar, things like that. And it's fun, especially when it's hot like this. Oh, and also when you're making popsicles, you can put fruit in there. So I could have taken, I actually had some berries and I could have poked a few of those in as well. And that's all you do. And you stick it in the freezer. And later on today, we're going to have popsicles. This is what they look like when they're done. Look at that. Aren't they beautiful? And if you have time, you could stripe it. You could get all fancy with fruit or raspberry sauce, but I just did the simple. So I'm just gonna rinse my blender out again because I have one more blender recipe. But next I'm gonna go on to what I call farm salad. F-A-R-M. Farm stands for fennel, apple, raisin, and mint. And it's just a really, really yummy combination. It's just our favorite salad, and I love it because it's a hearty salad, so it doesn't get all mushy in the refrigerator like some salads do right away. And it's just a great combination of flavors. So I'm going to start my fennel salad with, of course, fennel. Fennel is a bulb, somewhat like celery, but I think it tastes a lot better. Kind of almost looks like the heart, doesn't it? So you want the bottom part, the fronds, you could eat them, but they're not the tastiest part. So most of the stores sell them with the tops already cut off. And what you want to do is shave the fennel. So if you have really good knife skills, you could do this with a knife. I don't, so I'm using what's called a mandolin. You got to be really careful with a mandolin and either use the guard or the glove, because I've seen so many chefs cut their thumbs off. And you want to put it on the setting that will make it the thinnest. So I don't know if maybe you can't see it, but you can hear it. So I want it just as thin as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start shaving. I don't necessarily have to use the guard at the beginning, because I know I'm not going to cut myself when I'm that far away. But when it gets closer, you bet I am. If you have never had fennel, I really encourage you to try it. It tastes a lot like licorice. So when you were little, if you ever had a candy called Good and Plenty, that's what it reminds me of. And since we're going to couple it with a dried fruit, in this case raisins, it really does almost taste like candy. So it goes pretty quickly using this mandolin. If you have something like the Breville Sous Chef, I'm told that you can cut it with that, and that works really well. I don't have that food processor. I hear it's excellent. And if we had company, this would be we could have company, this would be a kind of salad I would serve to them for sure. I actually got to make it for Dr. Alan Goldhammer once, and he really liked it. So now I'm getting closer, so I'm going to put the guard on, and I'm going to continue to shave it. It smells really good, fennel. It's probably one of my favorite of all the things. Every now and then it'll get bunched up, so just remove it. And it's funny because I'm not a picky eater as long as it's a whole natural food. One of the very few foods I don't care for is celery, but I love fennel, and they're related. So go figure. I'm going to be using yellow raisins in this dish. You don't have to. You could omit the dried fruit if you're a person that doesn't use dried fruit, or use a different dried fruit like a goji berry or a gooseberry or cranberry. I just find that yellow raisins tend to be a little sweeter than some of the other dried fruits, and they just pair very nicely with this. Also, because they're yellow, you don't see them as well. And it's like when you're eating it, it's like you almost get like a little surprise when you get that little bit of raisin. So I'm using a cup of raisins in this, but I want to finish shaving my fennel. And you can see when you shave it, how thin it is. I don't know if you could, I mean, it's just super, super thin. And so when vegetables are cut that way, it's just, they're a little bit easier to chew. They're more palatable, in my opinion. And I just like doing that. So I've got my fennel shaved. I'll probably do a little bit more of that later just to finish it up. And then I'm going to add my 1 cup of raisins. And I need my apples now. So I like an apple. You can use any apple you want. You could even use a green apple if you didn't want it to be so sweet. My favorite apple are the organic Envy apples. They're just delicious. I believe they're a cross between a Gala and a Honeycrisp. And you can find them at various stores like Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, even at Costco. And I love this tool called the Vidalia Chop Wizard. It's about $20 on Amazon or Bed Bath & Beyond, because even if you have very good knife skills, it's not always easy to cut everything exactly the same size. And what this does is it takes whatever you're cutting and it makes perfect cubes. And if you have kids, let the kids do this. And it's very easy to use. You just put the slice down and you make, and what's also nice is it has a little measuring cup on the side. So if a recipe calls for, say, 4 cups of apples, you'll know exactly what it is. But if you didn't want to use this, you didn't have to. But I like when things are the same size in a salad. So it's visually more appealing, in my opinion. And I don't like it in my mouth when one is little and one is big. And it doesn't take that long to do. I've had this for years. It's great for cutting onion too, as well. And the little grate comes in different sizes. So this is the medium grate. They have one that's bigger and they have one that's smaller. So I love kitchen tools because they make my life easier. Do the second apple. If you didn't have an apple or didn't like apples, I think a pear would go really well in here. Now, one of the ingredients that's optional, and I made it optional because depending on where you live and what time of year, you can't always find this ingredient, but that is pomegranate seeds, 1 cup. I just think they add a nice little crunch and color and flavor, but I have made this many times without it, so don't feel like if you don't have pomegranate seeds, you can't make this. somebody had asked what you would substitute for pomegranate seeds. I would say if you didn't have them, just it's okay, because I didn't use them at the very beginning of creating this recipe. And then one day I had them, and I'm like, wow, that's really good. Okay, so my thing is filled up. Okay, that one, so you can see it's completely filled up. So if you wanted exact measurement, that's 4 cups. And I'm going to put it in my bowl with the other ingredients. You can see I have perfect cubes. I love it. And this one got caught because it was getting so full. And so dressing you put on this is up to you. I wouldn't put the one with the jalapeno personally. I mean, maybe it's good. I haven't tried it. But either of the other two would be great on that, the lemon poppy seed, or just any kind of citrus. It doesn't matter. You just need something so that the apple won't brown. And since I don't know what dressing I want to put on yet, I'm just going to take a little bit. Maybe I'll take the lime juice, of organic lime juice. Just not even much, just maybe 2 tablespoons. And I'm doing this just because I don't want the apple to brown while I'm trying to think about what dressing I want to put on it. That's the only thing you have to worry about is the apple. And it won't brown now that I put about 2 tablespoons of the citrus on it. I'm going to add my 1 cup of pomegranate seeds. And now the mint. I wanted to show you another really cool tool. You can see how pretty it is. And that's what I love about the pomegranate seeds. Yeah, you could probably do goji berries if you wanted to get that little. I thought maybe I'd put blueberries in it, but no, decided to go with apple. But experiment. So there's some really cool tools you can use to cut herbs. I don't have the best knife skills of any chef, probably the worst actually. I had something called trigger thumb, and sometimes I can't even use my hand as well as other people. So I like these tools that really help. There's one kind of scissors that you've all probably seen that people use, but what I really like are these herb scissors, and they have 8 blades. And so what happens is when I'm cutting, this is 3/4 of an ounce of organic mint, by the way, and what that will measure into is in cups is about 1 cup. And so what's kind of nice, and whether you're using basil or mint, you just take your herb and you take your scissors, and then you have these perfect ribbons, and it takes a lot less time than using the other kind of scissors. So I really do like to use that. Let's see, here's one, boom. See how easy it is to do it. And fresh, there's nothing like fresh mint, if you ask me. And most, I don't know very many people that don't like mint. When we get into some of the other fresh herbs, which are so good for you, some people just, you know, a lot of people hate cilantro because they have supposedly a gene that makes them not like it. And for some people, fresh basil is too strong, but mint seems to be one of those things that people will enjoy, even kids. So I tend to use it a lot, and it pairs very well with this salad. And again, one of the things I like about this salad is a lot of salads, you know, after a day or two in the fridge, they get really kind of soft and yucky. This seems to be a very sturdy salad once you get a little bit of acid on it to keep the apple from browning. So it will last several days. If we ever get to the point where we can meet again, I can anticipate this being a really good potluck salad because of its sturdiness and because I think regular people would like it, you know, meaning people that aren't even vegan. So I try to make food for regular people because there's so many of them in the world. So you can see that nothing, I really try to make my recipes very simple because I don't have a lot of time to be making food, and I think a lot of people don't. So I try to make them simple and delicious and from very few ingredients and familiar ingredients as well.
I have a question for you, Chef AJ.
Sure.
You call people on the regular American diet, regular people, how do you call yourself?
Spectacular. You know, that's so funny. You know, it's funny that you said that because they should be called irregular people because they are not pooping if they're on the standard American diet. They shouldn't be regular, they're common. So, you know, I don't know what to call them, but we call them the others sometimes, but I'm sure they're not regular because most people are not pooping if they're on the standard American diet. So I'm thinking they're probably irregular, but you know, let's just call them sad eaters. What would I call myself? I just call myself unprocessed, plant exclusive. That's kind of what I say. I am vegan and I'm proud of it, but vegan could be a junk food vegan. And so, I was that for many years. So I'm an ethical vegan, but my eating style is whole food, plant exclusive. I call myself SOFAS free, sugar, oil, flour, alcohol, salt, because Dr. Goldhammer coined the term SOS free, sugar, oil, salt. But then people that were doing an SOS free diet were still drinking alcohol and still eating flour. And I'm like, well, that's not good. So I'm plant exclusive, SOFAS free. I don't do any caffeine. I don't do any, chocolate. So I don't know. I don't know what I am. I'm an anomaly. So there we have it. And I'm just going to mix it up. And I have actually a prettier bowl that's see-through, like a glass bowl. So if I was serving this, that's what I would put it in. But I do like a bigger bowl for mixing. And, one of the things I wanted to say about salads, and I can show you, is one of the ways to get more salad in, because it's very important to eat a lot of vegetables, is I feel if you chop your salad. So I have this gigantic wooden bowl, which I can show you, called a Holland Bowl from Michigan. I'm actually interviewing the owner tomorrow on my show. I have a daily live show. And by chopping the salad, you can take pounds and pounds of greens and vegetables and condense it down so that it's this much, and it makes it easier to eat. And again, I think it's more palatable because it's cut up for you. And then what I found is when you chop your salads, you need a lot less dressing. Not that there's anything wrong with using a lot of dressing, but I'm not a heavy dressing person. And as a matter of fact, with just these 2 tablespoons of lime juice that I put on, this is good to go. This does not need anything else. And this is delicious. And I promise it is delicious, because I wouldn't lie. And again, very easy to make. So the next recipe I'm going to make is a dessert. And actually, this went so quickly. I always have stuff that I could whip recipes up. It's interesting because I just hosted something online for the Holistic Holiday at Sea Cruise. And I was supposed to be the host of the culinary experience. And I picked the chefs, and I was just supposed to interview them while they made recipes. Well, I woke up Monday morning at 6 a.m. and I got a text from one of the chefs. He had a family emergency. And I was able to throw together a culinary demo with 7 recipes with an hour's notice without going to the store, because I just always have the healthy food there. So if this goes too short, I can make something else and show you. I always love to make things. So now I'm going to make a combination. Well, it could be a beverage, it could be a dessert, and it could be an ice cream. Because I like things that are versatile. So that's why, people think, whoa, gosh, how do you make a popsicle out of a salad dressing? Well, I love to think of different ways to use the same thing. So we moved to the Coachella Valley near Palm Springs from Los Angeles about 1.5 years ago. And everywhere you see these signs for date shakes. And I had never had a date shake. And so we would go into the place and they would say, well, yeah, they have dairy and they have sugar, 2 things I don't eat. Well, my husband found a place that made them without dairy and without sugar. And they showed me the ingredients, and they were all clean, things I could eat. They made it with an unsweetened almond milk, and it was delicious. But the problem was it was $9.95 for this much. And so my husband was getting these like every day, and like with the tip, that's like $12. That's like $300 a month. And it was crazy. So I finally tasted it, and I said, this is the original cup I keep, but now we use a glass straw. And I said, just let me taste it. I'll make it up. And so I did. And he says mine are even better. And of course, they're not going to cost you $12. Again, very easy to make ingredients. We're going to start with a cup of your favorite non-dairy milk. And you can buy clean milks now that are literally just one thing plus water. So depending on the store, you can buy, I've seen certain companies like Elmhurst and Three Trees where it's literally almonds and water. There's no salt, there's no stabilizers. You can make your own. One of the easiest ways to make milk is to take a tablespoon of raw almond butter and mix it with a cup of water, or hemp seeds. Anything you want can be milk. So this is 1 cup of non-dairy milk, and I put the dates in advance to soak. And I'm using 3 large medjool dates. So that's almost 1.5 ounces, but you can use more if you want it sweeter. So I'm going to place the milk and the dates in the blender. And my seasonings, I measure these out in advance because my husband wants to have one of these every day. So instead of having to measure it every day, I just always have these on hand. And what this is a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, a teaspoon of chia seeds to be used as a thickener. And this is, I think, the most important ingredient. And I don't like to have people to have to buy something expensive, but in a date shake, it really kind of is non-negotiable, because if you don't put the vanilla powder in, it's still going to be good, but it's basically going to be a banana milkshake and not a date shake. So what vanilla powder is simply ground vanilla beans. Vanilla extract, I'm not even sure if it's raw anyway, but even if it was, it's either has glycerin, which is sugar, or it has alcohol, which is something I won't use. And to use just the straight vanilla beans can cost $6. It can be really expensive. You don't need a lot of this, and you can get it for like, I don't know, like a bag for $38 on Amazon. It will last you, and it does make a difference in this recipe if you can choose to use it. So we put these ingredients in, and we're going to add our bananas as soon as I find them. There they are. If you have the bananas frozen in advance, you're going to get a thicker shake. You can always add ice to make it thicker as well.
Sorry, how much was the vanilla powder again? How much did you put in?
I put in a whole teaspoon. I try
Okay.
to use as little as I can, because I know it's expensive, but with a half a teaspoon, I was still tasting, and there's nothing wrong with banana or tasting banana. You could omit the banana and just use dates. But again, I'm somebody that used to be obese, and I don't want to be putting in cups and cups of dates. And so I try to use as few dates as possible. So that's why. Also, the bananas make things so creamy. So if I did it without the bananas, I don't think it would be quite as creamy. So now I'm going to blend. And again, if those of you that have Vitamixes or Blendtex know that you could add ice and you can get it very, very thick. So one of the things I like to do is serve it in a pretty glass, or for my husband, we keep reusing this because then he can take it with him. But there's a couple of other things you can do with this. This is really, really very, very delicious. There's this little mold that you can get. And what I like to do is put it in the mold. And after it's frozen, I run this through my Champion juicer, and I make date ice cream. And that is unbelievably delicious. But since I have these popsicle molds out, and since I already have room for 3 more, I'm just going to make a date popsicle. Why not? Because I know that's going to be delicious. And I'm telling you, it's been 116, 120 all week. So we've been eating a lot of popsicles this week, trying to cool off. There we go. I've got room for 1 more. So we should have called this the popsicle episode. I honestly didn't know that I was going to do this. And then I got this as a present, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I still have a little bit more in here. So I'll give it to the cameraman, who's working very, very hard. And he still gets a nice little shake. I love these glass straws because they're reusable. There you go. And that is that. Just need my little sticks. Where did I put those? You see those sticks anywhere? Thank you. All right, so look at that. I got done pretty quick. If you want, I can make something else or answer any questions.
AJ, how many bananas did you use?
2. I always look for the largest organic bananas I can find, and I always wait until they're very, very ripe to freeze them. I mean, if I'm going to use them for desserts, For eating, no, I don't like them that sweet at all for eating. They're too sweet. But if I'm using them for desserts, then I do like you want to wait till they're not black, but till they have nice spots. And always make sure you peel your bananas before freezing, because you won't get the peel off if you freeze it first, trust me. You can, some people like to freeze them sliced, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just put them on a plate with a little bit of room in between, freeze them, and then I transfer them to a reusable Ziploc bag kind of thing. But always have bananas on hand. I mean, well, not if you like bananas. I think they're great for so many things you can make, especially if you're making any kind of smoothie, because they're just so creamy. And when people say they don't like bananas or they're allergic, I don't really have a substitute for bananas, Any questions? Or you want me to make another recipe? I can show you how to cut a watermelon.
Yes,
Actually, I have
let's
to-
cut the watermelon. That will be
Okay.
great.
All right, I'm going to show you
And,
I'm going to show you the easiest way that I learned. And I learned this, I got to make some room here. Charles, could you grab me the watermelon in the other room? So I learned this from the chef at True North, where they're cutting up 40 pounds of fruit every day. And when I was working there, I had to learn how to do it as well. So one of the things, and this is especially important if you're blind, is you have to do, you can see this is moving. It's very hard to cut things that are moving because they run away from you. So one of the things you have to do, whether it's an onion or a watermelon or anything, is you have to make some kind of a stabilizing cut. So the first cut, you just have to do something so that you have a flat surface. So hold it firmly and just cut off the bottom. Okay, now don't worry, I'm not gonna throw this out. I will scoop it out and I'll use it probably for a smoothie. So you have a stabilizing cut. So now, guess what? This isn't moving. This isn't going anywhere. And this is really, really important. So what I find easier, I mean, unless you're trying to serve it like in slices, but what I do with my watermelon is I cube it and then we just grab it when we need it. So what you do is you just go all the way around. And you can do this with every kind of melon. And so you're basically going all the way to the bottom. And you're just kind of taking it off from the sides. But you've got this stabilizing cut, so now it's not going anywhere. And when you see the white, you can just take it off and you turn it. And again, Chef Ramses Bravo taught me this, and it really is a time saver. You don't waste very much. And again, the little bit that you see here, I'll go back with a spoon and I'll capture that and I'll probably make a smoothie with it. And when I say smoothie, I guess I don't really mean smoothie, because with watermelon, you know, this is a really interesting thing about watermelon is that every now and then you get a clunker. I'm sure you guys have had really great hopes for a watermelon, and by a clunker, I mean they just weren't sweet. And so I have these friends, their name is Zell and Ruben Allen. They have a online blog called Vegetarians in Paradise. And they said, well, when that happens, juice it. Well, for some reason, when you do that, it just magically restores the sweetness. But I prefer smoothies to juice because I don't like giving up my fiber. And so I find that when I get the clunker of a watermelon, which doesn't happen too often, thankfully, or when the watermelon starts to get to the point where it's been sitting in the fridge and it's, I don't know, it's not very, you know, crunchy anymore, putting it in a blender rejuvenates it. And you can put it in a blender by itself. You could add a little lime juice. You could add some mint. You could add ice. If it's really not sweet, you could add a half a cup to a cup of berries. And it's like you've repurposed a watermelon that you probably were going to throw out because it was either too old or not sweet enough. And it just, I think watermelon's amazing because it's just such a hydrating fruit. And it's, you know, if you're familiar with my work at all, one of the things I teach, especially for people trying to lose weight, is caloric density. And the caloric density of watermelon is so low, it's like vegetables. It's about 140 calories a pound compared to other fruits that are, you know, 400 and more. So you can see I've got this nice little thing going on. And then when I'm ready, I can do the other side. Just get this off. And so now I can do what I want with it. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with something called watermelon birthday cakes, where people, you know, decorate them and things like that. So that's basically how I cut a watermelon, and it's pretty easy. Ta-da!
So when you do a watermelon cake, do you put something around that, some cream?
Well, I don't do coconut milk because it's just too high in saturated fat. But what a lot of people do is they take that canned coconut milk, they dump off the water and they whip it, and that's their, and then they add some kind of sweetener and then they frost it. You know what I mean? But you can make beautiful cakes just cutting it and using other kinds of fruits. The other thing you can do is, you might have heard of a company called Edible Arrangements, where they charge a lot of money to give you fruit that's cut up. Well, you can get cookie cutters like at craft stores like Michael's, and you can actually do that yourself with watermelon, pineapple, cantaloupe, honeydew, and you can make skewers. So that's kind of a cool thing to do, and actually really fun as well. Another thing that's really great to do with a watermelon, I don't know if I have the ingredients, but one of my favorite salads, it's called OMG watermelon salad. And again, the amounts are up to you. is you take watermelon, cucumber, lime juice, and mint, and it is the most delicious salad. And again, you can also make a smoothie out of that. When I make that salad, and on like day 4, where it's like, I don't know, the cucumbers are pretty soft, when you don't know what to do, my philosophy is blend it or dehydrate it, and then create something else, or in this case, freeze it. And then you've repurposed it, and it might be just as good, if not better, you know?
Chef AJ, what's the proportion of watermelon and cucumber?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't have one for you. It's your taste. So for me, it would probably be twice as much watermelon to cucumber, but in a salad, it's really up to you. And it's really up to what you have in the house. And it's the same thing with mint. So even in my cookbook, that recipe says in the amounts that you prefer, honestly. I don't, but I probably, and also I like to use the Persian organic cucumbers because they don't have as many seeds. The hothouse and the English, there's too many seeds, and I just prefer the smaller ones for those recipes. And I do use this little thing when I'm cutting my cucumbers because it makes them really, really perfect.
So what would you do with this watermelon today? You'll just
So
eat
what
it
am
like
I going to do is I'm going to cut it up in cubes, and I'm going to put it in a container. So we're going to eat it. And then some of it, what I'm going to do with these parts that I didn't take the time to do perfectly, I'm going to make a smoothie. And when I say smoothie, it's just going to be blended with some berries, and it's so good. It's incredible. Just to put just a tiny, tiny amount of berries, the color, the texture, when you put it in with watermelon, it's so yummy. And what's nice about watermelon is you don't need any liquid in your blender because watermelon is basically water. So, and if you've never had I have a dehydrator, it's in the laundry room, but dehydrated watermelon is like unbelievable because basically it takes all the water out and you're basically left with the sugar, and you're left with, it's literally crack. It's like, I don't eat it very often, trust me, but dehydrated watermelon is like, there was a candy when I was growing up like 50 years ago called Now and Later, which was completely fake and chemical, but it's like that texture. So also, if you're dehydrating watermelon, you've got to have a pretty big piece because it really turns into almost nothing. So it's not something I would do very often, but I have done it, and it is kind of fun.
How long does it take to dehydrate?
Again, everybody's dehydrator is different. I think it depends on the temperature where you live and also the temperature you use. So, at least 8 hours, maybe even overnight, And that's the thing with dehydration. It's done when you say it's done. You know what I'm saying? So I usually just do everything overnight, and then they wake up and it's done. So that's how I usually do things, because then there's the noise it's not that noisy, but it can be noisy depending on where you have it in your house.
All right, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you, Chef AJ. It was such a pleasure. We got lots of dressings, lots of ideas, watermelon cuts and everything, and the knowledge and the old discussion. That was great. Thank you very much. And we looking forward to see all of you next week.